We can start. Hello again, and thank you for making the time to join us for this regular webinar. Today we will talk about electronic IDs and digital IDs. Before we begin, a few housekeeping items. If you experience any audio issues, please try dialing in using the numbers provided in your invitation. Also, you can submit your questions live in the chat during our presentation, and we will answer them in the Q&A session at the end. Also, this webinar is being recorded, and we'll send out the link over the next few days. So let's get started. My name is Kate, and I'm the head of product marketing at Regular. And my co-host today is Dmitry. Dmitry is the head of mobile and web development at Regular. Dmitry, hello.
Hello, Kate. Thank you. At Regular, I'm responsible for technical development of mobile and web products, and I'm very glad to present for you today. Yeah, thanks.
Good. So let's proceed. Today, we are going to dive deeper into electronic and digital IDs. And I would like to begin by defining what electronic or biometric IDs and digital IDs are in simple words. Also, it is important to know that this presentation is based on Regular's knowledge and expertise. An electronic or biometric ID is a document with an RFID chip that stores personal and biometric data. It can be authenticated remotely via smartphone or on-site via a passport reader device with a built-in NFC verification technology. The electronic chip contains the personal data from the passport and the biometric facial image, as well as information that helps to validate it. In simple words, an electronic ID is a physical passport with an RFID chip inside. A digital ID is the electronic equivalent of individual's physical ID, for example, driver license. It is stored in a digital wallet and can be presented electronically to prove an individual's identity and their right to access information or services online. The World Economic Forum defined the following core principles of digital ID. It needs to be useful, inclusive, secure, offer choice, what information to share, and be fit for purpose. Why do we need this type of identity document? In today's world, where many interactions are online, we need a secure and reliable way to prove an identity electronically, while keeping the choice of when and where to do it. These kind of documents make it easier for users, and there is no need for them to go somewhere with a physical ID. They are much more handy, and at the same time, they are more secure for business and government. Electronic IDs are also easier to process because with traditional IDs, you need to rely on the security elements they have. And if they are poorly protected, for example, like old types of IDs, then the potential for fraud is high. It is also worth mentioning that electronic IDs enable significant economic value by facilitating easier access to goods and services. In January 2024, Regular commissioned Forrester Consulting to survey decision makers responsible for their organization's ID verification solutions. For the research, we focused on organizations from diverse sectors like aviation, finance, government, and other industries from Europe, North America, and the Middle East. The figures from this survey confirm the importance of these IDs. 42% of companies are actively integrating digital and electronic IDs into their systems. Online transactions will be most impacted by them, and they are now. 77% of respondents expect these types of IDs to improve their security infrastructure and fraud prevention capabilities. Today, electronic documents are the most secured and used identity document globally. Almost every country issues an electronic ID. Of course, electronic ID coverage is not the same with the number of documents. And this is due to the fact that In each country, there are a lot of different document types, of course, not only electronic IDs. Also, the adoption of EIDs is not the same across all countries. However, many of them are taking steps to phase out traditional documents. At Regular, our technologies currently cover biometric documents from 178 countries and territories, and we actively add new ones as they become available. It is important to note that even though 75% of countries, it's like an approximate number, have started issuing biometric documents, there are very few statistics available on the split between traditional documents and biometric ones that are currently in use. But this figure may vary from country to country, as in some the adoption is less than 50% even. From past experience, these types of initiatives tend to have a quite long tail that may take many years to completely switch from one type to another. And now I would like to pass the microphone to Dmitry, and he will guide you through the in-depth details of these types of IDs. Dmitry, the scene is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Kate. Let's see how EIDs and digital IDs evolved. Okay, let's take a step back. The evolution of identity documents from traditional to electronic forms has been shaped by technological advancements, societal needs, and security concerns. Not long ago, there were documents that didn't even have photos. They still exist now, but they're still paper-based documents like birth certificates, social security cards, and government-issued ID cards. In the mid of 20th century, a layer of security was added. Photographic IDs appears, making it harder to impersonate someone. The next step to consider is once the standardization and security features are in place, such as holograms and watermarks, to enhance the authenticity of identity documents. And, of course, barcodes, allowing for quick scanning and verification. Another step was digitalization of identity documents. Smart cards and biometric data. These plastic cards contained embedded microchips and could store digital information securely. And finally, the electronic identity, EIDs. It's a national EIDs and mobile driver licenses that can be even stored on a smartphone. Now let's focus on what we call biometric identity documents. Since 1980, the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, has been standardizing travel documents to ensure their international integration. The first attempt to use RFID technology in identity documents was the Malaysian electronic passport, issued almost 30 years ago. At that time, there weren't even any specification for this technology. In 2003, ICAO updated its standard for countries issuing machine-readable travel documents, including printing and physical details. Additionally, it also specifies details of the embedded chip, so an identity document carries the symbol displayed on this slide. The terms for this include e-passport, biometric passport, electronic ID, or biometric ID. The immortality chip symbol now appears on many passport IDs and resident permits that have an embedded contactless RFID chip inside. It enables wireless NFC communication between the identity documents and compatible device, allowing swift and contactless data exchange. There are three main types of electronic identity documents. Even not main, it's just three. E-passport, EDL, and EID. The content of RFID chips varies depending on the type of identity document. However, different data is always stored separately, and each file has its own unique identifier, which is used to provide access to it. The segregation contributes to RFID chip securely. Typically, there are informational and service data packages. For instance, a biometric passport chip includes the data groups you can see on the slide. DG1 for example, contains basic personal information such as name, date of birth, nationality, and other personal information. The same data that encoded in the document's MRZ. Then there is a biometric information about cryptographic algorithms, and the key is used for chip or active authentication and other service data groups that contains inside the RFID chip. Some data groups are reserved for further standard development. These structures make it possible to set different access level to the data recorded on the chip. For instance, the DG2 group file with this document holder's photo is checked during routine verification session, like customer onboarding in bank or other any processes where the person photo should be verified. But only authorized entities like border control or police officers can access biometric data, such as iris scans or fingerprints stored in DG4 and DG3 groups of data. When issuing electronic documents, each issuing state signs every electronic identity documents with certificates and at least two types of key pairs. A country signing certification authority, CSCA key pair, and a document signer certificate, DSC key pair. The CSCA private key digitally signs the DS certificate, and the DS private key digitally signs the e-passport. The digital signature on e-passport is derived from the issuing state security certificate, each of which contains the public keys that can be used to verify its authenticity, the CSCA certificate and the DSC certificate. Together, the signature and certificates from a trust chain, wherein one end is securely anchored in the authority of the issuing state, and the other end is security stored in the chip of the e-passport as the document security object. The document signer must be validated against the CSCA to validate the digital signature to complete the whole chain of trust regarding the signatures. All information stored on the RFID chip is secured with an access control mechanism. It prevents data from being read unless the inspection system can prove its authorization. This helps prevent unauthorized interception of the dialogue between the chip and the reader. For example, smartphone, and stop fraudster from scanning the data from it. There are three forms of access control currently used in electronic IDs. First of all, it's a basic access control, is one of the earliest methods based on symmetric keys to secure communication between chip and reader, but it's still in use today. Next one, it's a password authenticated connection establishment. It's a replacement of BAC, and it provides stronger protection. Supplemental access control is not actually an access control mechanism in itself. It is just a term used to describe e-passports that have both BAC and PASSER. Next one is extended access control. This is an optional and can be used to read biometric data, fingerprint or iris. The RFID verification flow is determined by the issuing country, the specific use case, and the identity verification software in use. There are four methods to authenticate the chip: passive authentication, active authentication, chip authentication, and the last one is a thermal authentication. This one can most of the time used only by authorities to access sensitive data like iris, and fingerprints. Have a look at the flow when conducting e-passport validation. First part is performing PASSER or BAC procedure. Then chip or active authentication checks that chip was not cloned. Next part, it's a passive authentication, is the process of validating the chip by verifying the digital signature on the document, which uses public keys of the issuing state. When the appropriate infrastructure and systems are in place, this process verifies the electronically stored information in the e-passport is authentic, was used by the given country, and has not been tampered with. The certificates are available in the ICAO public key directory as well as the other trusted sources. Electronic IDs incorporate RFID technology, such as electronic passport, driver licenses, and ID cards, offer several benefits. First of all, it's a faster processing. RFID technology allows for quick scanning and data retrieval, which can significantly reduce wait times at airports and other checkpoints. Next one, it's a data storage. Electronic IDs can store more information than traditional IDs, including biometric data and additional personal details that can be accessed securely. Next one is fraud prevention. The use of unique identifiers and secure encryption helps reduce identity theft and fraud, as it is more difficult to replicate or forge RFID-enabled IDs. Next point, it's interoperability. Many electronic IDs are designed to work across different systems and countries, facilitating international travel and identification. Then improved record keeping. The use of RFID chip technology allows for better tracking and management of ID issuance and renewals, leading to improved administrative efficiency. And overall, the integration of RFID technology into electronic IDs enhance security, efficiency, and user experience. They also support modern needs for digital identity management. Another type is the mobile driver license, MDL. In September 2021, the International Organization for Standardization, ICO, published a new standard, the whole name presented on the slide. It's a standard about MDL application. It encompasses the entire life cycle of digital driver licenses from their issuance by authorities to their use in everyday scenarios. Also, it sets the framework for how MDL should be formatted, transmitted, and authenticated. The standard details the components of a verified issuance certificate authority list, through which a list of legitimate issuing authority public keys can be shared with reliant partners. Similar to ICAO, American Association of Motor Vehicle Administration, Digital Trust Service is a system that provides the verified issuer certificate authority list, (WICAL), to issuing authorities and reliant parties. Participating issuing authorities provide the organization with the public keys used to issue the MDLs, which are then loaded into the system. A mobile driver license is a digital version of a traditional driver license. It can be stored on a smartphone or other mobile device. MDLs offer several benefits over traditional physical driver licenses. First of all, it's a digital version of traditional driver license. It allows contactless transaction. It's selective personal data sharing during identity verification. Also, it reduces risk of identity theft. And it provides high security with cryptography to make sure it can be hacked, streamlined identity verification and digital onboarding, and finally, it's lower cost associated with printing and distributing physical cards. Another type of digital IDs is the quite new digital travel credentials. The DTC is a secure digital solution that streamlines travel expertise. ICAO sets the framework and standards for it with their guiding core principles for the development of DTC. The DTC consolidates key personal information into a single virtual document that travelers can store on their mobile device or upload to their digital wallets and share whenever needed. The main goal of the DTC is to facilitate travel and ensure that the people are eligible to enter their destination before the board flight. There are three types of DTC. First of all, it's a DTC VC. It's a virtual copy bound with physical e-passport. Next one, it's a DTC PC, which is physical copy, but also bound with a physical e-passport. And finally, it's a standalone document. We at Regular just introduced full support for the DTC. Now, with Regular Document Reader SDK, user can create and reprocess the DTC VC out of an e-passport, as well as verify it by passing DTC VC data as an input. Also, support for handling the DTC PC has been introduced. In particular, the updated Regular Document Reader SDK can read the document's RFID chip with a smartphone, verify it and create a DTC VC, then recognize, read, and verify the DTCVC with a smartphone, passport reader, or via server retrieval. Read the DTCPC with a smartphone or passport reader, parse its data, and verify it. That's it from my side, Kate. Thank you.
Thank you, Dmitry. That was a comprehensive story. Now let's have a closer look at how digital IDs are regulated. But at first, I would like to highlight another insight from our survey. It shows that digital IDs revolutionize various industries that rely heavily on secure, efficient identity verification, especially in online transactions that are 46%, which are becoming more common for many industries and online account opening, that is about 38%. This trend not only streamlines onboarding but also bolsters security, illustrating the new ways we interact with services daily. And of course, it should be standardized and regulated, especially to eliminate compatibility issues. This new standard defines the requirements for biometric data exchange formats and protocols to ensure interoperability and data integrity across different systems. In simple words, it regulates how the biometric data and photos should be stored in the chip and further processed. It is important to begin updating your systems how to support the new standard and be able to process such documents. As issuing states and organizations will begin issuing the new DG2 data formats in identity documents as of January 1st next year. So it's not that much time. And back to digital IDs. It all started with the World Wide Web Consortium developing a new data model for identity called the credential model. So actually, World Wide Web Consortium shortly is W3C. One of the key challenges is that the existing standards in different countries issue digital credentials for different purposes and they are not connected. This is a huge problem in making digital IDs unified. Rather than having a single identifier, you have to use a set of different credentials for different purposes. For example, passports, ID cards, driver's licenses, or payment cards. And in practice, you don't want to present your full physical identity information every time because sometimes it is even not needed. So the verifiable credential data model is very much user-centric with different forms of credentials representing your identity, depending on different purposes. Plus, it is under control of the wallet holder, so you can present the relevant credentials for various services. And the W3C standard is shaping different approaches to using digital credentials. When it comes to holding your credentials on a mobile device, the ISO has provided a series of standards and frameworks for managing and interpreting your smartphone for mobile-based digital wallets and credentials. This work was based on the standard for mobile driver's licenses. The experience has been generalized in the ISO standard and has been further adapted for the use with the W3C credential model. Another one is the European Digital Wallet. The regulation entered into force in May 2024. The wallet supports the principles outlined in the European Declaration on Digital Rights and Principles and will help fulfill the Digital Decade Policy Program, the target of 100% of European citizens having access to digital IDs by 2030. Currently, there are 4 large-scale European pilots ongoing, and all implementations should be done by the beginning of next year, also 2026. The European Digital Identity Framework amends the EIDS, Electronic Identification, Authentication, and Trust Services regulation with the goal of creating a unified approach to electronic identification that works across every member state. As for the United States, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, shortly known as NIST, has released updated guidance on a wide range of methods people use to prove their identity, from digital wallets to passkeys to physical IDs. These draft guidelines aim to help organizations manage risks associated with digital interactions while making it easier for individuals to use digital identities successfully, including when they're being applied for government services. As we see, there is no universal standard for how these wallets and credentials should work together. One wallet may store a digital driver's license. Another might hold a vaccination record. But if they cannot interact seamlessly, the user experience falls short. With digital identity wallets, you store highly sensitive information like IDs, certificates, and financial records. And this, of course, makes them a prime target for cyber attacks. If a wallet is compromised, the damage can be extensive, making security a paramount concern. Many people are unfamiliar with the concept of verifiable credentials or intricacies of managing their digital identity. And without user friendly designs and a clear understanding of the benefits, adoption may lag. One of the biggest promises of digital identity wallets is better privacy. Yet they can also raise concerns about surveillance and data tracking. In a world where many people are already worried about their data being monitored, introducing a new identity tool can create apprehension. But how quick will the transition be? Are organizations around the globe ready to shift to the new formats? Or do they prefer to work with only physical documents? And despite the initiatives on issuing new digital formats of IDs, physical documents remain critical. This is confirmed by our survey as well. The vast majority of organizations believe that physical documents are crucial at the moment and will continue to be in the near future. The advantages of electronic IDs cannot be overestimated. They include enhanced security, they streamline onboarding processes, they are in the full compliance, are made with the full compliance with regulations. They improve customer experience, and of course, they save costs by avoiding manual checks. And since we are talking about the benefits, Dmitry, let's talk about user flows. Can you please show us how it looks from the user perspective and organization perspective?
Yeah, kid, with pleasure. Here's how flow looks like with an electronic passport. A user scan an electronic ID with an NFC-enabled smartphone with the help of an app, which can be customized in line with your branding. Then Regular automatically identifies the document types, reads the MRZ, and performs NFC chip verification. In 1 to 2 seconds, the user is verified. In addition, you can verify the NFC chip on your backend. That ensure high security and addresses zero trust mobile issues. Another flow when we use a digital ID. A user applies with a digital ID stored on their smartphone. Regular reads and verifies the identity and checks all the certificates and data. Here you can also verify it on your backend as well. For you as a company, it can be challenging to handle diverse IDV scenarios, different mechanisms, solutions, and regulations. What a nightmare. In our daily life, we have various payment options such as cash, bank checks, Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, Google Pay, physical or virtual credit cards, even biometric payments, and other. And a shop, for example, should be able to accept any form of payments. The same way with identity documents. There are people with traditional documents, electronic passports, driver licenses, electronic IDs, MDLs, and so on. And no one should be discriminated against, so we should be able to process and verify each type of ID. So, to eliminate the hassle of supporting different solutions for every document type of scenario, we provide regular IDV platform. As an all-in-one solution, it mutually supports all the necessary components to perform the required tasks for document and biometric verification. Just like with regular hardware and software, and also with existing third-party hardware components and services as well. There is a wide range of benefits, including the following. First of all, it's enable user enrollment, identification, and verification through different work scenarios. Maintaining a robust database of individuals, including their personal information and biometric data, and fully on-premise on the client side. Providing details logs for all interactions with individuals in the database for further audit. Next one, it's a seamless data integration to easily export and receive data from third-party systems via connectors or API calls for enhanced interoperability. Then I think it's a flexible scalability as load and or data volumes grow up without sacrificing performance. Next point is customization, client user interface with predefined templates that can be presented with any text in any language, images and video, plus a multi-language back-office user interface. Also, it can be delivered in any way, on premises or in cloud, giving you wide flexibility to serve any customer needs. Additionally, before full implementation, you can test your solution using mockups to evaluate its functionality, usability, and potential issues. This allows for early detection of design flaws, security vulnerability, and user experience challenges. By testing on mockups, you can gather feedbacks, make necessary adjustments, and ensure a more seamless transition to real-world deployment, and ultimately improving the efficiency and reliability of the final implementation. For example, say you have to support more than 100 Asian countries. Your employee or project participant will not be able to receive specimen of these passports, ID cards, or other documents that you would accept. And in reality, you don't want to use real passport in an engineer or test environment for data security and privacy reasons. Therefore, you must use artificial ID documents equipped with real NFC chips for verification. This should be test documents, not fake ones. And you have to check all the errors conditions such as passport expiration date, signature verification failure, and other cases. You cannot check these things with real ID documents. We regularly see our clients encounter such problems, and we always listen very carefully to our customer needs and try to help and develop solutions where possible. We released a new service in response of these needs called Regular NFC Test Kit. Regular NFC Test Kit help you identify and prevent potential problems in an IDV solution during testing phase, ensuring system reliability. From a business perspective, I think the most important benefit is that our customer can significantly reduce time to market and accelerate the implementation process. Thanks, Kate. That's all from my side.
Good. Thank you, Dmitry. That was very interesting. Just to sum up, today in the era of numerous types of IDs, artificial intelligence, and of course, deepfakes, it's crucial for us to know how to deal with these types of IDs. And we consider three main pillars. First one is it's important to rethink your onboarding process and consider the new regulations, standards, and new types of IDs. Create a unified IDV flow that supports all types of IDs, traditional, biometric, and digital, depending on your flow and your requirements and your users. And of course, plan today to include these digital IDs because as we discussed, beginning of the next year, the new regulations and the new standards are becoming to be in forms. So thank you everybody for your attention. We hope you'd like today's webinar. And now we're happy to take any questions you may have. Give us a second, please. We will look for a question for the questions. Dmitry, can you see the questions?
Yeah, sorry. I see the questions.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's answer this one. Can I limit the documents to validate? For example, only Chilean identity cards and not passports. Is it also possible to exclude foreign documents? Yeah, it's fully possible. For each use case, we can create a fully custom database that can include only some countries, or, for example, only passport from some countries. It can be sliced by user needs and will be deployed like a separate database with every week updates for it. So it's fully acceptable. Next question, can you elaborate on the NFC test kit? Was the precondition to leverage these? We are currently using the regular mobile SDK, thank you, to scan travel documents in an iOS app. Availability of test documents is always an issue for us. So the main idea here is that we can produce some kind of mocks that even contains NFC chip inside. It will be personalized by your data that you can provide to us, and we just write down the chip. We create CSCA certificate pair, so it will successfully pass passive certification exactly with this CSCA. Of course, it will not work with ICAO. It's not real document, but it can work with your test environment and can be validated for some checks that you performed on your side. It also can be personalized with your test photo, so it's fully customizable here. Will you accept national EIDs like Singapore National ID, for example? If it's ICAO-based EID, we will accept it. Regarding another one, I think it's better to ask our support team, or I think Kate will provide email where you can contact with us and discuss internally.
Yes, we will. Actually, our database covers more than 14,500 document templates from many, many countries and territories that are about 251. So, and we will share the full document list. And actually, if we do not support any ID yet, we can add it within like a working week to our database.
What is the recommendation validity of the end user certificate keeper inside an electronic authentication document? It's a very good question for the topic. So let's discuss more deeply. When you read EID document, first of all, you just authenticate it using BAC or PASSER algorithms. You just open the chip and start reading DG groups from it. It's not related to authentication, like validity, check validity of the chip. It just opens the chip to read the data inside. Even if you read successfully all data groups, it doesn't mean that you verify that it's a real document. To validate that chip was not cloned, used chip authentication and active authentication, but it's only checks some specific use cases where the chip fully cloned from another RFID chip document. But the best way to accept electronic document is to make a passive authentication. When you get CSCA certificates, as I described via webinar, and verify a digital signature of the document. Without that procedure, it can be sure that the document is a real one and was issued by the country or government that they should be. Do you share anonymous data with any merchants or partner business? Of course not. We don't share any data. We don't store any data. We make our products on premise, and all of them works exactly on the client's environment without any data sharing at all. So
I can see questions from anonymous attendee. Can you please elaborate how can we plan ahead implementation of EIDs in existing onboarding coming up next year? That would be good if you can send us a request an email to Kate Johnson at regular.us. So with this request, and we will contact you also with this directly. And yes, the presentation and video recording of the webinar will be available within a few days.
is the IDV can be deployed on premise? Yes, of course, it will be deployed on premise as well, with all products that we have right now, like Document Reader and Face SDK. It also works on premise, so it's fully on your side. Which data is exchanged with you, and is any data sent outside the identification system to you, for example, for licensing or any other purposes? It's a good question, because really we use only licensing service to validate your license key that used inside your environment. So it just counts the transaction or count instances that you have on your site that works with our products. We don't send any personal information or any data regarding the recognition. It's just licensing data and some kind of metadata about the SDK that should be deployed to our licensing service to count the license correctly.
Frank is asking, could you tell us a bit more about how do you support DTC specifically? Actually, as we support the electronic IDs, and DTCVC is made from the RFID chip data, we can process the electronic ID, and our SDK software now can create this DTC virtual copy, and also we can accept it to process. As well, we created a quite extensive article on this topic, and we will share it with you after the webinar as well, so you can read and dive deeper into this one. Well, I think we will answer other questions in a written mode in the slides, and we'll share them together with the presentation. So no worries, we will cover and answer all of them. And if you have any other questions, please contact us. As I said, kate.johnson@regularus.com. Thank you very much for your time and your participation. We are very pleased to have you all here today. And have a good day or evening wherever you are. Thank you again, and see you on the next webinar.
Yeah, thank you. Bye bye.